I've seen like you. I'm the white person.
You live on Lane? Oh.
But I'm the guy cutting the grass in my yard to get in trouble. The city government, I gotta cut my grass.
I'd like to call to order the meeting, regular call Fairfield County School District Board of Trustees, October 21st, 2014. Ms. Brown. We had appropriate public notification.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And we have a confirmation of a quorum. We are minus at this point, Ms. Harrison, Ms. Hartman. Not in here.
Roaming around the building.
I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session for legal, contractual, and personnel matters.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we enter executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel matters.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Frick, Ms. McDaniel for the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We will exit to executive session at this point.
Everybody.
That could be it too.
Right there.
Entertain a motion to exit executive session during which no action was taken.
Don't move, Madam Chair, we don't relax you.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Thank you, Ms. Hartman.
Oh, Terry said.
Yeah. And we'll move on to C, the welcome vote pledging moment.
Need to vote.
Sorry. We need to vote to exit executive session. My fault. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We'll move on.
You gonna play the national anthem?
Once again, welcome to the October 21st, 2014 regular call school district meeting. We will move on. We appreciate the McCory Liston School Technology for hosting tonight. Know that that's an extra to add to the day. The decorations are nice, and I asked Dr. Bell if they could send somebody over to decorate the front of my house like the school looks. It looks great out there. We appreciate it, although we know it wasn't just for us. So it's very nice, and we always enjoy being here. So thank you for hosting us. And, we'll move on, Ms. Frick.
All right, we'd stand for the pledge. I think we were going that direction. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While we're standing, we'll take a moment of silence and reflection. Thank you.
And we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
You want a motion?
We can do that as a consent. Are there any objections to the agenda as written? Hearing none, we will consider that approval. Public comment.
I have received no public comment, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We've got presentations and recognitions. Blank.
Presentation.
We'll move on to the minutes of the September 2014 regular call meeting. Superintendent recommends that the board approve those minutes.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve the minutes for the September 16th, 2014 meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Pruitt.
I second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Question or discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yes. When I made reference to one of the programs I went to as far as the students, making reference to, it just said students. It was saying to, as far, no, it didn't say students, it said that something to affect positive, say positive things to students or something. I don't know exactly what it said, but what I said actually was that everyone should be, positive in what they say to students, all the way up to from the students to the board members. Because the kids, it affects what they do in their classes, just making a negative statement, something to that effect. And I think it just made a basic few words in the minutes. They could make that correction on that.
Okay, we'll find that. Thank you. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, the minutes also didn't contain the discussion we had about the Bay Club and the request to pay the fees for the Bay Club students.
The action was noted there. There was a policy.
Huh.
We were talking about fees, right?
Board policy JS was an action item and it was approved.
But there was a discussion on it, I think is what Amy's saying, is that correct?
Yeah, for the district to pay
Comment on.
the fees for the Bay Club. I think we left stated that we weren't going to pay it, but then when you made the motion, I stated that I was really concerned that we paid fees for other things, but we weren't paying the fees for the students to be a part of the Bay Club. And when they go off on competitions, they represent the district just like the sports teams do.
The top students.
Right, we had the discussion, we voted on it, and that's what's reflected in the minutes, is the motion.
Okay, I need her to go back and look and see whether or not I asked for that statement to be placed on record.
Okay, we will check on that.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, on the minutes, is the secretary reviewing the minutes before they come to us or before they go on the board docs?
They're submitted to me for signature after they're approved.
But you don't review it before?
Before we come to each meeting from the last meeting, I review them as they are in board docs.
So nobody reviews them before they come to the board? And if not, I'm requesting that we get them a little earlier and make sure that the tape is in board docs so we can have a chance to review them, and then we'll know specifically what the correction should be when we come to the board meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
We will entertain that request. Any others, we've got a motion and a second. Those in favor of the minutes being approved from the September 16th, 2014 meeting signify by raising of the right hand. We've got 4 opposed, abstentions.
All approved. Change come to opposed.
I think that was 5 in favor, 1 opposed,
Or, wait a minute, are you doing that
1
with
abstention.
the correction? You didn't state.
Can you, who abstained? I didn't see.
Ms. McDaniel abstained.
Is that with correction?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I would go ahead and approve it.
601. Move on to the superintendent's report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, as always, Wallace has done an excellent job with the monthly newsletter. highlighting all of the wonderful things we have going on in the district. Also, I'd like to bring your attention to a female mentoring program that we've established. Actually, was established last year at the middle school called Elite Ladies. Ms. Brown has been working very closely with Ms. Seals and Ms. Kirkpatrick, and they have expanded that program from the middle school now to include the high school. They have about 185 young ladies who have signed up and are now part of this mentoring effort. They have approximately 26 mentors. It is structured very similar to how the Bowtie Club is structured. We're very excited about that. I think it goes a long way to help develop our young ladies and help them transition in this journey from young adulthood to adulthood. And so we're very excited about that. We're always in the business of soliciting mentors to be a part to help work with our young ladies. So if you have any board members who'd like to join that effort, we welcome them. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Bowtie Club. We've also expanded the Bowtie Club from the middle school now to include high school students also. We have somewhere around 125 young men who are part of the Bowtie Club this year. As a matter of fact, I got an email from a mother today requesting that her son be a part, so the interest is very high. Still very excited to work with these young men. In addition to teaching them read, write, and arithmetic, I think it's very important that we help them transition during this journey from boyhood to manhood. So I'm very excited about both of those mentoring efforts. I want to talk a little bit about the expansion of our one-to-one technology initiative. And so what our plan is, and this is something that I had prepared to present in our county council meeting a couple of weeks ago, the joint meeting that we had. In terms of a long-term goal of ours was to expand our one-to-one initiative where all students in the county had a device. And after looking at where we were financially and thinking about the prospect of doing it now, we decided not to forego that to a later date, but do it immediately. So this is a Lenovo ThinkPad, which is a Chromebook. And because we had about $1.5 million that we could roll over into the fund balance, a proposal that you will vote on later on during the meeting will be to shift some of that money to a capital improvement fund. And probably close to half of that we'll use to purchase close to 1,400 Chromebooks for all students in grades 7 through 12. Now, we already have about 1,000 or 1,500 Chromebooks in the district already. I think about 1,000, somewhere around there. But at the end of the day, this change will provide a device for all students in grade 3 through 12. Okay. So I think we'll be totally one-to-one for students in grades 3 through 12. Our goal right now, we're still doing a little bit of conversation. Our plans right now are to actually provide each student in grades 7 through 12 with a Chromebook that they can take home and keep 24/7. There was some conversation about housing the Chromebooks at the middle school and not allowing them to take them home on a daily basis. But we may shift that and allow those students to take those Chromebooks home. We're also trying to have some conversations about expanding wireless access, particularly on the western end of the county, because we know many of those students do not have wireless access once they leave the school setting, which kind of puts them at a disadvantage when it comes to really utilizing Chromebooks to its fullest capacity. I'm going to pass this around so you can kind of see it's a very heavy device. They are cheaper Chromebooks. The ones that we are looking to purchase are probably a little bit more than some others, but we want to get something that's going to be very, very doable, particularly since students are going to have them 24/7. Okay. Any questions about that?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Sure.
But another question before that, this is when you zoom past the elite ladies. How many did you say there were?
185.
In what grades?
7 through 12.
Have the district spent any money on them yet?
Most definitely.
Can you please send us how much? And for what?
see what I can do for some.
Thank you, sir. And then on the Chromes, what about the memory? I know that in the information you gave us, you stated that the Chrome was selected because of the life of the notebook. But what about the memory?
So Chromebooks don't have hard drives.
Everything's in the cloud?
Everything's in the cloud.
Okay.
I have a question, well, not really a question, a suggestion. The one-to-one initiative, I would just like to say thank you and thank you to your staff, because that's something that I think we've been pushing for quite some time. I want to make a suggestion, possibly. I think housing the devices at the middle school defeats the purpose. We want the children to have access once they leave school. But also, I know Richmond too provides carrying bags for their devices, and if we could also look into that as well, and ensure that each student has a carrying bag for their device.
It was in the, what do you mean for the,
Take care of
The old one?
device.
I thought it was in the information that he gave
Oh,
us. that
I'm
he
sorry.
purchased.
I'm sorry. I overheard that. I apologize.
But Ms. Harrison, that's a very good suggestion, and of course, those are some potential expenses that we've identified also. Anytime you give students devices, I mean, there's always some concerns about, maintaining devices, potential damage. So we're trying to put all the measures that we can to try and mitigate such things. And of course, it's impossible to mitigate any risk, but we'll likely purchase bags to try and help them secure the devices.
But Ms. Green, what's the difference in that and what you had in the, or are you talking about other devices? Because you had in the information you gave us that you was going to be purchasing the carry cases.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
I agree with doing that, but I did want to question, I questioned it when we were talking about the budget, why the budget went down instead of up as far as technology, and you said we took care of what we needed. So,
Say that again?
when we were doing the budget, technology from one year to the other went down. And I asked the question, why is it going down? I would expect technology to go up. And you said that, well, we purchased what we needed already.
So I don't necessarily see how that
I'm asking
equates
you the
to
question,
expanding the one-to-one initiative. I mean, so what I would say is, before we decided to purchase a device for all students in grades 7 through 12, our budget could accommodate everything that we plan to do. So this is a new initiative to expand the one-to-one technology device. So at the time when we budgeted, everything that we had planned to do as it related to technology, we could accommodate in the present budget. So your question is, why did we not expand the budget prior to now? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Because at that point in
Yeah.
time, we did not plan to expand and purchase 1,400 Chromebooks. And quite honestly, we didn't really entertain that, Ms. Hartman, until we looked and saw that we had some pretty substantial funding in our fund balance for this year. And I felt that it would be a prudent thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like I said, I agree with doing it. I'm just going back to what I had questioned before, because like I said it before, that when I asked you that question was that, to me, that technology would only go up in most cases. Because, that's where the world's going to, as far as technology. So anyway, that was what I wanted
Madam Chair,
to ask.
Yes, sir.
I would like to accept the superintendent recommendation for buying these Chromebooks, providing it as such.
I got one more question.
Okay, we got a motion? Do we even need a
Well,
motion? Something that's being presented,
Yeah.
is this an action item?
Well, it's not really an action item. I mean, the action item will come during finance. It'll come during the
Okay.
finance portion.
So we'll get it in. So we'll hold off on that one. Okay.
But the other question was, as you were making reference to Wi-Fi in a certain area of town. I know you're saying, I guess, there's more students that don't have it, is what you're saying, with the Wi-Fi, as far as being able to have access to. Do they have a library or anything like that over in that area?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, and I don't know if I use the term more, I'll say that we do have some dead zones throughout the county So particularly, for example, the western end of the county, there are not a lot of students that have wireless access in their homes. I think True Vista is the provider, and so for many parts of Blair and Jenkinsville and some of these areas, there is not kind of fiber optic cable running out here, so families can have access to wireless. And so what we're trying to figure out a way to do is to provide wireless access for those students, even though currently they do not have it. So it's kind of contingent on where you live in the county.
Well, that's why I'm asking, do we have a survey that's asked to the director of where it is? Because to me, that's not fair if you do one side and not do another.
Well,
So
and
that's
so
something you need to think about.
yeah. So let me be clear with all this. I'm not saying that only the western end of the county. And so I'm saying we're talking about expanding wireless access to places that do not have it. The western end of the county was just an example. So there may be some other dark areas. Maybe Mitford is a dark area. I'm not sure. But before we expand that access, we'll know where the dark areas are.
Madam Chair. In that aspect, Mr. Green, did we look at possibly devices such as 2-in-1s, where in those areas where there is no internet access, students would still have the pad to do, they could still write papers, they could still do class projects, things like that, what alternatives did we look at in the wake of the sporadic internet access throughout the county?
Well, so the things you're talking about, in terms of writing papers, of course, you can still use the Chromebook to do those type things.
Right.
In terms of providing, you say 2-to-1, and there are some devices that you can purchase that have built-in Wi-Fi. This is not one of those devices. I don't think we have the capability to purchase this with built-in Wi-Fi.
Right, no, what I'm asking is, they're called 2-in-1 devices. You can flip the device over, some of them detach, and you have just the work pad, like an iPad, and you don't necessarily need internet to use that portion of the device. What I'm asking is, did we possibly look into that to compensate for the areas where we don't have internet access, where the students would still be able to utilize the device? They just wouldn't be able to utilize the internet portion unless they were in an area where internet was. But you can,
Is there
somebody give me a
programs-
2-in-1.
Is there some programs on the
Popular
on the
2-in-1.
computer? Is that what you're saying?
well, it's sort of like a ThinkPad. They can draw on it. Art students can still do art projects. It doesn't necessarily require internet access.
And what I would say is, and I'm not a technology expert, but you can use these Chromebooks even if you don't have internet access.
Okay.
It limits the things that you can do if you don't have internet access. Yeah, but you can still use it the same way you're referencing
Okay.
the device you're talking about.
Well, I know for a fact, I guess, that's why mine didn't pick up until I got internet. Got the
What's
lake
that?
area.
What did they
So you don't have Wi-Fi that's open, in that area. You follow what I'm saying? Unless you get it yourself.
Yeah, so,
Is that what you're saying, that this in Blair area is?
yeah, so what I'm saying is there are some areas where that is not an option. So in other words, where you are, I guess you're saying that you can purchase it on your own
Right.
and have wireless access. I'm saying there are some areas in the county where that is not an option. There is no option to purchase internet access in some areas of our county. So even if mom wanted to purchase internet access for children in the home, there is no provider in some parts of our county, is what I'm talking
But
about.
then you also run into the fact that the families that can't afford it, right? That's what, I guess what I'm trying to pull into this. If they can't afford it, then that defeats the purpose too, right? Unless it's a Wi-Fi.
You mean defeat the purpose of having
Being
a
able
device?
to purchase it, if it's not there, you can't purchase it, is what you're saying. But some aren't able to purchase it because they can't financially afford it, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do in a situation like that?
I'm not sure about that, Ms. Hart.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Mr. Dr. Green, since all of the information is stored in the clouds, did we look at any other equipment options other than the ThinkPad? Those ThinkPads are kind of heavy, and what would be the difference in the price if we had the devices that did have Wi-Fi access? So if the parents who could afford to, did want to pay for the children to use the phone line or the, and I think I can correct both of you. I think you can get internet access anywhere in the county through Dish Network and all these other places. You just got to pay for it. But my question is, did you consider any other devices, since everything is going to be in the cloud, versus the heavy ThinkPads that will basically accomplish the same purpose but would have the Wi-Fi capability for those students who, and if one day we're going to get to the point of Wi-Fi throughout the county?
You know, in terms of the heaviness, Ms. Hart, I mean,
McDaniel.
Ms. McDaniel, I mean, it was purposeful that we chose a device that is that heavy. I mean, because we wanted a device that was going to be doable. There are devices that are lighter. But the reality is, and we've seen from our own experiences and the experiences of other districts, that when you get those lighter devices, you have a bunch of cracked screens and broken ports and a whole lot of issues that occur. When you give a kid a device that he has 24/7, I would say you want something as doable as possible.
But
That's
they
what
have
we picked there.
they have the out-of-box covers to go over them so that the students can't break them. I'm just asking that we look at it. If we didn't, well, let me back up. Have we purchased these already?
No.
Okay, so is it a problem for us to just consider some other options?
Well, and so once again, Ms. McDaniel, you know, these technology experts that we have in the district, they have been talking to vendors, preparing to give me some quotes in terms of what it's going to cost. And I can assure you that they're going to select the most prudent device.
So they hadn't decided on these totally yet?
This is our #1 choice right now, but we haven't purchased anything yet. Unless we see where there is a better choice to go with that we think is more doable and more economical, this is what we're going to select.
And more into the age of which we're in going forward. Because if these are $299,
What? The $299 what?
what year they came out?
They knew. I mean, what do you mean when year they came out? I
The
mean,
processors in them and whatever the
First, you're saying the first one that came out for that particular model?
the model.
And that's brand new.
What year did the
This
model
year's-
come out?
This year's model.
I don't know. I mean, this is a new model. Yeah, this is a new model, Mr. Daniel?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This year.
I still would like to you guys to look at some other options. I understand you noted in the book that Richland True is using these, and I don't know what the pros and cons are, but it would be good to know that. And if they had the out-of-box cover on an iPad, to me that would be less likely to break than the two-piece component. That when they drop it, you know it's gonna break. Don't care how heavy it is.
Yeah, but we aren't entertaining iPads. You know, we're looking at a device that we think is a little bit more practical to developing documents and such. So that's why we've selected the Chromebook.
But if you're gonna put them in the clouds, it doesn't matter. It's the software.
Well, I disagree with you, Ms. McDaniel, and I guess in terms of a device, if you start talking about creating documents, an iPad is much different than a Chromebook. I mean, try and type a 10-page paper on an iPad.
Just do it. I just asked for you to look at the other options and,
Okay.
and
Well,
you would do that, Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay, because we
We
will see
always
you all
do.
night.
Yeah,
Okay.
we always do. We always do.
Madam Chair, I have one question, not to be too much of a dead horse.
Yeah.
Do we know what the life of these devices are? Are we gonna be looking to replace them? And
You know, that's a good question, Mr. Frick. You know, and of course, we've not had a lot of experience giving kids devices that they keep 24/7. We do have some Chromebooks in the district that we've had for 3+ years that are holding up pretty good. We do have some students from our Seminary College Academy that have had devices for a couple of years. Ballpark, I'd say 3 or 4 years. But once again, that's kind of speculating, depending on kind of the wear and tear and how well they take care of them, how well they hold up. But I would probably say we should be in a refresh cycle somewhere around 3 or 4 years.
follow up on that,
Uh-huh.
not trying to belabor it, but
Yeah.
are we going to put a line item in the budget for replacement for the future? Because I don't want to see us in a situation where in 3 or 4 years you go, oops,
No,
$1 million,
don't have anything.
and it may or may not be there depending on the economic situation. Just
Refresh.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Frick, I got a couple of county council members here. I plan to ask them for the money. I mean, that's my.
I knew that's why they were here.
Well, I was just joking, but But surely, yeah, we'll have to include
Hopefully that'll
retread
be during the
cycles in the
time
budget.
the nuclear plant kicks in, huh?
But Madam Chair, Mr. Green, you probably do want to talk to them about the internet access, because I think they were looking at some, and I caution this district getting into the internet access business throughout the county. I don't care what portion it is, because that brings a whole lot of other problems.
Yeah, I think it needs to be everywhere if you're gonna do it. That's my thinking.
Ms. McDaniel saying she doesn't think we should do it at all.
I didn't say it should be that all. I said it's not a function for the school district.
Well, you
I
said you don't think we should do it, that's my point. Yeah,
Correct, so
don't think we
you,
should.
since you mentioned county council, I said you might want to talk to them because they were looking at internet access. See what the status is of where they are. And we definitely don't need to duplicate efforts.
But now, Ms. McDaniel, you saying, I don't want to belay the report, but you saying that there are no dark areas in Fairfield County? That we have internet access all over the county?
You can get Dish Network and you can get internet through Dish Network. You can get, what's the other one? Direct TV.
Through there.
And then you have the phone lines. AT&T is fairly well throughout the county.
AT&T is not delayed. I got True
You have
Vista.
to get
I got
Dish
True
Network or
Vista.
Direct TV.
All right, we'll, I think we can beat that one. Okay.
The next thing in your board packet, you have a request to lease, to do a lease to purchase of the old district office on Old Camden Road. And so you saw in the packet where they are requesting a 99-year lease, I think it is. And they want to do a lease to purchase for a total cost of about $60,000 over the life of the lease. And the purpose is to build affordable housing, if you will. So I mean, I think they want to turn it into apartments, affordable apartments. Now, I'm not presenting this as an action item. I just wanted to present it to you so you could kind of think about it a little bit. I spoke to the gentleman who presented the proposal to the district and told him I would request that he come and appear before the board at our next meeting so you could have the opportunity to really ask him any questions you'd like to ask him.
Now, Jim, so Ms. Green, did you do any vetting with him on this process? Because I know that in the document, he state that he's talked to, or they state that he talked to several individuals and federal authorities and even county council. So, do you know who they talked to?
No, I don't know.
But they didn't talk to us.
Yeah, he talked to me, and then so I'll bring it to you, and then you can ask him any questions. But in terms of who else he talked to, I can't speak to that.
And the other concern I had about it is they kept saying proposed the name of the organization, as if the organization is not even in existence.
Do you know what the new organization is, in other words?
I don't know if it is an organization. I mean, I think they're trying to establish something for the purpose of purchasing the facility and turning it into apartment complexes. So it's not an existing organization, is my understanding, but it's something they're trying to establish for this purpose.
So they reference to students, these are adult students here?
Well, part of what he said was that he wanted the affordable housing to potentially house students who are attending the Winsboro campus of Business Tech. I think he also referenced in the document that potentially maybe some students from Benedict College who are in need of housing, maybe we stay there. That's probably a stretch, because I don't necessarily.
That's more than a stretch.
Yeah, that's probably a stretch. So, I mean, to make a long story short, I mean, I think he's trying to create some apartment complexes, some apartment building.
But I mean, that property, in essence, is probably very, very close to condemnation by the town, too. It's not meeting the code, and I know it just a few months ago, the town had posted notice on the door about cleaning up the property. So it's very, very close to condemnation, condemning property.
But to that end, Mr. Green, have we talked to the grants writer to see if that property could be placed on the, what's that list? Help me out. The list where you put old buildings and stuff, you can get grant, historical markers. And you could possibly get money, because I thought we talked one time about using that property for a museum for the district and storing the district artifacts and different things that we wanted to keep. Now, to Mr. Cunningham's question, now, the staff have been keeping that property up over there. I think that's something you might want to address, because whether we use the property or not, it still should not be an eyesore.
Well, you know, in defense of our staff, I mean, it's similar to what they say about a house on Liberty and a fall down. I mean, it's just how it works. I mean, if you have a facility and it's being unused, it's going to eventually deteriorate.
Yeah, but Ms. Reed, there's been no attempt to do anything to that property over there.
Well, I won't necessarily debate that with you, Ms. McDaniel. But what I would say is, I mean, I think there's a lot of validity to if this is a facility that no one is really utilizing, it will continue to deteriorate unless we start to invest a good bit of money into it.
Now, people have houses on the market all the time, and they stay on the market for quite a while before they sell it. Now, it's up to us to do some things to the property so it doesn't look so bad. And the other thing is, you might want to explore, because we are a government entity, and if we're going to be giving property to a private LLC, I think I caution us not to walk down that road before we've done our homework.
Well, and once again, Ms. McDaniel, it'll be your decision. I brought it to you.
But please don't bring it back to us unless you vetted it.
Well, I'm not. No. I mean, he'll come. I mean, there's nothing for me to vet. I don't know. I mean, he's presented me what he wants to do. There's nothing for me to vet.
Yeah, but there's some questions as superintendent you probably need to get answered before you bring this back to us, because it's just like a sheet of paper, not even on letterhead.
Okay, well, that's why I'm going to have him appear before you guys, so you can ask him any pertinent questions.
I don't know whether you're aware of it. Am I not correct, Annie? I guess you're probably the one that knows more than I would, as far as that at one time Jimmy Burrows came to the board to request that building too for homeless
He did.
people.
Well,
And the board turned it down.
Once again, that's before my time.
Yeah, it's before mine too.
So do you
But
even
I
know
do
who
know
these
it
people are?
happens.
Do you know who they are?
No, ma'am. I don't know him, Mr. McDaniel. I mean,
They just bought it to your paper, you just bought it to us.
Yes. Yeah, he met with me, told me what he wanted to do, but I don't know.
Now, the money that he talked about as far as to get it up to par, is that, I guess he's saying they were gonna spend that, not us?
Well, what he's hoping to do, Ms. Hartman, is to secure grant money to try and renovate the facility. So I'm not sure how he's gonna come about securing.
Madam Chair, I
See, that's
hope,
something that we possibly can do also, I think, is what it.
I hope no one
Danny was trying to
don't get mad at me, but we run the stop sign. That's the chair. Everything we need to do permission from the chair. We run the stop sign. Let's bring it back in. We run the stop sign. Let's bring it back in.
All right, and I think Mr. Green has the directive to get the directive for, he's going to be here to ask these questions. So I suggest keeping those questions for that. Yes.
I just wanted to have the opportunity to say to Mr. Green, with the questions that have been asked this evening, I think it may behoove us, if the gentleman can't, if those questions aren't answered to you before he's invited to come to the board, we may want to forego that, because that may be, until all of that is done, until all of those questions are answered. And I know we may have specific questions, but you know, in terms of the organization hasn't even been formed yet, that just sends up red flags all over the place. Until, you know, they presented you with something detailed, I think it may be a waste of time, because they may come to the board with just the same information that we've been provided with already. You know, may be able to answer questions, but I just think that information needs to be detailed before they're actually brought in to do the type of presentation.
That's fine with me. I mean, if you want me to make a decision about whether they come or not come, I mean.
Well, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people would be opposed to that. I mean,
But you didn't say not for you to let you to vote, I don't think.
Pardon me?
Okay, here we go. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. Curriculum and instruction.
Good evening. This evening, I wanted to present a very short overview of our 2013-14 assessment data for Fairfield County School District. As you all may recall, on last month, we had the opportunity to celebrate the successes of our students. And among those successes was the fact that we had over 102 students, who scored exemplary in all areas of the past assessments. We had 86 students who scored in the top 10% in the state. we had 34 students score at level 4 on at least one portion of the HSAT test. And we had 3 students to achieve a perfect score on one area of the PASS test. And we also had high school students, 29 of them, to receive a letter grade of an A on at least one portion of the inter-course exam. And we also recognized the students, 9 students who scored a score 24 or higher on the ACT. Now, the Palmetto Assessment State Standards is an assessment that is given to all students in 3 through 8. Now, last year was our last year of administrating the Palmetto Assessment State Standards test to our 3rd through 8th grade students. Now, our past 2014 scores, as you can see from this table, we had a tremendous gain in writing. In 2013, we had 64%, and we increased our score, or our percentage of students who met and exemplary, to 71%, and we also showed a gain in science. Writing and science demonstrated an increase. English language arts, or English, had a slight decrease, and math had a slight decrease, and social studies had a very slight decrease. But overall, we're very pleased with the growth that the students had in our writing. Now, our high school assessment program, or HSAP as it was formerly known as you know, again, last year was our last year of administrating the high school assessment test. Now, this 3-year trend, as you can tell, we remained the same as far as 87% of the students passed on the first attempt for English language arts. And in mathematics, we had a slight decrease in the number of students who passed as compared to 2013. We had 67% in 2013, and we had 65% who passed, total passed, as far as first attempt on the mathematics portion of the HSAP. Now, our inter-course testing for Fairfield Middle School, we were extremely pleased with our inter-course Algebra 1 assessment results for the 2014 school year. We had our 8th grade students and some of our STEM Early College Academy students who actually took the Algebra 1 EOC test. And even though we had a slight increase, we're very pleased that we still achieved a passage rate of over 90%. And for English language arts, the same is true there. We had a slight decrease to 97%, but again, these are middle school students who are taking a high school assessment exam. Now, inter-course assessments for Fairfield Central High School. Now, our Algebra 1 results showed an increase from 78% to 82%, which was an increase of 4 percentage points. And as you're looking at these results, please keep in mind that these results were part of those students who are currently at Fairfield Central High School and those students who were currently at GOA. All are part of these results for Fairfield Central High School, but we still demonstrated an increase from 78% in the previous year to 82% from last year. Biology 1 has 65% and a slight decrease to 61% from last school year. English 1, and of course from the high school, had an 8% increase for the percentage of students who passed the inter-course test for English 1. Now this is, and I told Ms. Willie the other day, this should be the crown in her cap along with her social studies teachers. Because if you notice that from the previous year, 2013, only 16% of the students score or passed the inter-course test for U.S. history. This past year, almost 50% of the students who took the exam passed it at 43%. And when I asked the question to Ms. Willie as to what would she attribute this significant growth to, she remarked, or she told me, that one of the things that she felt was instrumental was the fact that her teachers collaborated consistently every single day, and they also utilized some incentives and some software to really help push these students to increase the overall passage for U.S. history. Now, our advanced placement dual credit. Now, if you look at this table, in 2012, as we all know, we did not have any students to actually take the AP exam. For 2013, we had 32 students who actually took the exam, and 7 passed. But if you notice, on 2014, the number of exams that's administered, we almost doubled the number of students who took the exam in 2013. We almost doubled that number in 2014, and we still had 4 students to pass the test. Because again, we wanted to expose our students to more rigorous curriculum, and we felt that the advanced placement classes and the offerings, again, gets them prepared for college. Dual credit classes. We currently, Midlands Technical College offers English 1, English 102, and Sociology. And as you can tell, the majority of the grades are A's, B's, and C's. Overall, the majority of our students were able to pass the course with both receiving a dual credit and also receiving high school credit. So overall, as a school district, we feel, as a team, we feel very proud of the growth that we have demonstrated. While we do recognize there are some key areas that we got to get a little bit better in improving overall as it relates to our student achievement data. But at this time, I will entertain any questions. Ms. Hartman?
Is it all the students tested as far as, or is there a certain percentage?
Which tests are you speaking of? Well, all students are tested for state assessments.
What, in every area, I mean, percentage-wise?
Our goal is to test, the state requires that we test all students, but the magic number is 95% of our students are tested.
That's on the pass test.
On the pass test, yes.
Yeah, what about the double credit classes and those types?
Dual credit classes are offered to specific students who qualify and who meet a certain criteria.
Ms. Hartman, if I can add a little more insight to that. A dual credit course is simply a college course that students take while they're still in high school. So they aren't bound by any kind of state assessment. It's no different than you or I going to Midlands Tech, taking a course. Whatever grade we end up with at the end of the course, that's our grade.
So the AP is, right?
No, so AP is something totally different.
Right.
Yeah, so AP, that's something that's governed by College Board, and so you're required to take an assessment in order to determine whether you get college credit. And that's one of the appealing things to a dual credit course, because if you take a dual credit course and you end up with a 87 at the end of the course, then you end up with an 87 in the college credit. With an AP course, you end up with an 87. You don't necessarily get the college credit until you make a 3 or better on the AP exam. So you have to make the 87 and you have to make the 3 or better in order to get the college credit.
For the students that are taking the AP classes, does this class mean that if they're having trouble with it, aren't all going to have trouble in college?
Exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. And I'll tell you my experience as a principal. Without exception, kids who took an AP course in high school that didn't make a 3 or better came back and told me that's the best thing I ever did. Because if they took a calculus course, for example, and say they made a 2, and then ended up going to Clemson University and taking it for a second time, they generally breezed through it because it was like a second go round. And so they went in with a much more robust foundation than they would have had they not taken it. So that's why I continue to say exposing kids to that curriculum is a win-win situation. I mean, we want to see them be successful on the AP exam and get college credit, but even when they don't, it still is a win.
Like I said, it looks, concerning when you don't see them and you pass it, as long as I ask you that question.
Well, and I'll tell you, that'll change, that'll get better. I think nationally the pass rate for AP exams was somewhere around 35%. Just off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it was somewhere around 35%. So nationally, about 35% of kids who take AP courses make a 3 or better. So it's not necessarily all about making a 3 or better. It's about exposing kids to the curriculum, because even when they don't make a 3 or better, they learn so much from the course, and they end up benefiting from that when they go to college. I had a conversation with a parent whose kid was in AP calculus last year. Because it was very difficult and the kid wasn't doing well, Mom took her out. And I said, Mom, I don't think that's a good idea. Mom said, well, she's having a problem. She doesn't think she's going to pass the exam, so on and so on. She goes to college. This year, Mom came back to me and told me that's the worst thing she ever did. She should have listened to me, because now she's still in that calculus course, taking it for the first time, and is experiencing the same struggle she probably would have experienced when she was in high school. Even if she didn't make the 3 or better, it would have been like a second go round. So even when they don't make it through the betterment something, they still very beneficial.
Will the A+ programs that we have help them in those areas maybe?
Can AP Capital Score?
We have the A+ classes in different, in math and English, right?
I would probably tell you an AP course, Ms. Hartman, is so rigorous. A+ programs generally don't benefit students because it requires so much direct instruction. I mean, and that's all the AP courses, AP Calculus, AP Biology, AP English, all of them. I mean, they're very, very rigorous courses.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and so probably the one struggle we're going to have there, as we continue to expand dual credit courses, we're probably going to have more students who elect to do dual credit as opposed to AP. And the reason is because they see once I take a dual credit course, then I'm definitely going to get the credit. I don't have to worry about passing anything. And I experienced the same thing before I came here.
Madam Chair.
Can I ask one question? Madam Chair.
Mr. Pruitt?
Can you tell me how we jumped from 32 to 59 in the number of kids taking the AP? Have we expanded the number of AP offerings, or are there just more kids taking the classes we have?
Honestly, I think it's twofold. The fact that we have expanded some of the courses being offered as far as the AP courses that are currently being offered, but I do think too as well that the administration at the high school has done a really good job of identifying and recruiting students who they feel could benefit from the AP courses. The administration has done a really good job of recruiting students.
And I can speak to that. One course we added, Mr. Burke, is we added AP US History. We didn't have AP US History before, so we have added an additional AP course.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Green.
Yes, ma'am.
What school is offering the dual credit courses?
You mean college?
The dual credit classes, what school is offering the courses?
Midlands Technical College.
Okay, and we're looking at English 101, English 102, sociology. One of my concerns when we first limited the dual credit to just Midlands Tech, I hear you saying they get college credit, but English 101 at a technical school may not give the student the same credit as an English 121 at a four-year school. So are we making sure that these students who take these courses, who may think they're going to get the credit at college, actually understand and knows where these classes fall within their curriculum when they go to college?
So Ms. McDaniel, let me tell you, that's not the case. I had a student take English 101 before I came to Fairfield County and transferred to Harvard, and his credit transferred.
As an English class or as an elective?
As an English class. So I don't know of any university that does not accept that as an English credit.
Okay. We'll get back to that one later then.
Okay.
My other question is on the AP. What kind of preparation are we giving our teachers so that, and I'm really proud that we have the AP classes back, because I was one of the ones who was very, very upset when the AP classes was removed from the high schools. But by the same token, if we're not making sure that our staff is where they need to be in what they're teaching the students, then we won't get out of this the single digits. And that was one of the concerns expressed when the AP classes were removed, was that the students were not passing. And I commend you for this time saying that the students who take the courses because of the rigor, they benefit even if they don't pass. But my question is the preparation for the teachers. You know, I know they get the designation at some point in time to be able to teach the class, but are they going back and continuing to get classes so that they are better prepared, or are they talking to the teachers in other districts and looking at some of the things that they're doing where the student rate pass rate is much higher than ours?
That's an excellent question. And as you said, all of our teachers are AP endorsed, Ms. McDaniel, and probably the most effective thing you can do to improve your performance in the AP test from the teacher perspective is to spend time and talk to teachers who've been doing it for a while. And so probably what some of our teachers their deficit is, anytime you have an AP exam, you're still trying to figure out what's going to be assessed, how it's going to be assessed, how you can best prepare those students to be successful. And so for someone, for example, who's teaching like, Mr. Robinson, who's teaching AP US History for the first time, he's still kind of shooting in the dark to a certain extent. I mean, he's going through the AP Institute, he's had some preliminary conversations with other teachers, but now what he's doing is to have conversations with AP teachers who've been doing it for 10 or 15 years to say, kind of tell me how you prepare these students to be successful. And so that's what's occurring right now. So I'm very optimistic that those numbers will improve as you learn how to prepare them. That's the one thing. And the other thing is, we have to change the culture where students understand how you actually prepare to be successful on the AP exam. I can tell you one problem we've had in AP Calculus, for example, is we started out, I think, with 20 kids. We may be down to 12. Because a lot of students said, this is way more than I think I can do, that I'm willing to do. I don't want to say I can do, that I'm willing to do. But the AP teacher understands, if we don't push you that far, you won't pass the assessment. And so that's kind of the catch-22, Ms. McDaniel. Part of it, and some parents say, well, man, they're working so hard, they're doing so much. But the teachers understand, if you don't do that, then you won't be successful. So part of it is the teachers have to understand exactly what's being assessed, how it's being assessed. And the other side of it is to change the culture where students understand the amount of time you have to put in and invest in order to be successful in the AP.
Okay, and I commend you for looking at other districts, because and looking at the endorsement and the preparation by the teachers, because I mentioned it before, it wasn't well received, and then when the superintendents found out that one of our great teachers had been endorsed way back when, but nothing happened for years after she was endorsed. And she realized that if she had probably communicated with some other teachers or took some other courses, she could have probably done some things to help the students pass, even though she was a great teacher and she taught a very rigorous class. And when the students went off to college, they appreciated it because it better prepared them for college. So I do thank you for that, and want to encourage you to continue to do what you can to push so our kids will do better. Because I know when we give our scholarships, the first thing we look at on the students' transcripts is whether or not they took AP courses. And if they took AP courses, then on our metrics, they automatically get additional points.
Well, and I'll tell you, Ms. McDaniel, it's been, we fought some battles on that. And I'm going to tell you, we fought some battles, and I commend Ms. Swilley, the principal, because she's kind of fought tooth and nail with some parents who said, I want to take them out because there's so much work and it's so hard. And so I think we're going to have to continue to fight those battles until we kind of change the culture. So people understand the most important thing is that you benefit and that you learn. And that's what I'm trying to tell parents. Rather you make a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, as long as you benefit and you learn, it's going to be a good experience. And I think, as you see, we're being pretty successful with that. Okay, we're doing a better job.
And one final question from Madam Chair. Do we allow students to audit the AP courses? Meaning take it without giving credit?
I think we had one kid to audit last year who didn't pass. And I'll tell you, it is, I've never seen it happen. I'm quite sure it's happened a few times. But for a kid to audit the course and pass the AP exam, he's going to be close to a genius because the exam is that difficult.
But I mean, taking the course for the rigorousness to help.
Oh, you're talking about audit the exam?
No, the class.
And audit the class?
Yeah.
Not take the exam.
You mean not take the exam? Or
No,
not?
just take the class for the experience.
And not take the exam? Well, and so I've had people ask that question, but what I always say, Ms. McDaniel, why wouldn't you take the exam? So when kids say, well, I don't want to take the exam, my response has been, and I dealt with this as a principal, is, what do you have to lose?
And I agree for you to encourage them, but if they just want the practice for when they go to college, then...
Does it pull their GPA down?
Not the
the AP exam doesn't affect the GPA at all. And so,
Because I was going to say maybe that was why.
Well, the class doesn't either if they audit it, right?
If they audit the class, but I would say most kids don't want to audit the class.
They probably don't understand what it means.
Well, but with our uniform grade scale, Ms. McDaniel, and particularly as kids think about their GPAs and compete for scholarships, we have to remember, if a kid takes an AP course and makes a 92, for example, he still gets that weighted credit calculated into his GPA.
Who do you think you're talking about?
Well, if you're talking about auditing the course, that's what I'm saying. So if I'm taking an AP course, I want to get that weighted credit if I'm going to do that much work.
Correct, but if you're a student who's making a D or F in the class, even though it's still weighted, I mean, it's that child's right to not want that class average in if they want that exposure. So when they go to college, they better prepare for how to take notes, and they better prepare for how to listen and how to use a syllabus to get their homework done, because they know that they're not going to be babysit in class. Then if that's what they want to do. Now, I commend you for encouraging them to take the exam, but there's still a benefit. You know, you just talked about benefit.
Well, so I mean, I've not necessarily had anyone to request it. I mean, I'll speak to the school and see if anyone has requested it. I've not had that.
All right, thank you.
I got a 1 on AP calculus exam. Got my name on it. Be okay.
And where you went to school?
Fairfield. I got a 5 on the biology exam.
All right, we'll move on. Dr. Evans.
The second item under CNI is an overnight field trip request for Fairfield Middle School. And this is the middle school's request to attend the Beta Club Conference in January 2014 for approximately 80 students and including 8 chaperones.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to set the superintendent recommendation that we approve this out-of-state overnight field trip request for, as I said, junior Beta Club. Right. Beta Club. Provided they get a second.
Second, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Ms. McDaniel, any question or discussion?
Of course.
Of course.
We're going to pay for the children fees?
I think it's about 11,280,
280.
Ms. McDaniel.
No, that's for the full trip. I'm just talking about their fee.
What fee?
The fee to be in Beta Club.
Oh, no. The kids are
I
going
think that's what she's talking about still.
Yeah, they already
They're
paid.
talking, yeah, they've already paid the
Got a
membership
granddaughter
fee.
already paid up
The
for it.
membership fee.
You sure all of them are paid? We don't have any students that have not paid
Okay,
that
we're
fee.
on the field trip request.
No,
We have a
Madam Chair.
motion and a second, and we're going to discuss the field trip,
We have
not the fees to join
We
the
have
Beta
80
Club.
people, 80 students in the
Thank
class.
That's how many have indicated that they would attend.
That's a big department.
Any other questions on the field trip for the Beta Club?
Well, so I can't tell you whether everyone who's in the Beta Club is attending the trip. Is that what you're asking?
This says 80 students are going, so they're in the club.
Yeah, they're in the Beta Club.
That's my question. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion?
No
Careful
question,
what you
please.
ask for.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
they, this is for a competition, or what's it for?
That's the Beta Club convention. So there will be competition.
Thank you.
And we have all our elementary schools going in the middle school?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We've exhausted the discussion again. All those in favor signify by the raising of the right hand. We've got 7-0, Ms. Brown. Thank you.
The next item is a fundraiser request for Fairfield Middle School, which consists of a fundraiser to sell Chick-fil-A biscuits to help benefit the chorus, and also a fall and spring dance to commence in November and conclude by March of 2015.
Superintendent recommends that the board approve that fundraiser request.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the fundraiser for the dance, but not the Chick-fil-A.
All right, these are being taken together, so we will entertain a different motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation for the fundraising request for the, is that the middle school?
Yes, sir.
Provided I get a second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. We will open it up for discussion and questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
on the Chick-fil-A, are they doing that in Columbia, or why did they pick Chick-fil-A? If you don't have a Chick-fil-A?
I think the plan was Hartman is to sell Chick-fil-A sandwiches in car line as parents drop students off at the moment. I think that's the plan. And the reason they chose Chick-fil-A would be my guess, is just because of the popularity.
I mean, I'm just in favor that we buy things from the county if possible.
I understand. Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I tell you one thing, I love Chick-fil-A. I ain't gonna tell you no story, I'm big for it. But it's that aluminum, package that, and it stays warm. For whatever reason, they
I don't
got, they
think it's
got
a
that in
little
the
bag. I
pack.
think it's the chicken on the
It
inside.
stays warm.
Just don't have one. I feel like
Yeah.
it's possible.
I feel you on that.
Okay,
I
any
love
further,
chicken.
any other discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I just have one suggestion, Mr. Rick. With the fundraising request, I know in the very, beginning of the school year, we have a deadline for fundraising requests. Just in an effort to become uniform in our practices and our procedures, can we do a little bit more planning and have all fundraising requests brought to us at that time? I mean, I know there may be things that.
Yeah. And so, and that's a very good point, Ms. Harrison. I think that was an oversight on
Okay.
Dr. Hardy and her staff on their part. I think that's something they meant to submit.
A little bit, not on this particular thing. It's on-
We're not going
it's
to
on-
discuss.
No, it's on fundraising, just like she
No,
said.
no, ma'am.
So,
We're
all I'm
going-
saying is.
We've
is
got a
anybody
motion
thought
and a
about
second, and
doing
we are
a
going to discuss the
haunted house
fundraisers
for-
that are
for
on the
fundraising.
table. Okay? We're going to discuss the fundraisers that are on the table. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the fundraisers on the table? Thank you. All those in favor signify by raising of the right hand. Got it. 7, Ms. Brown. Number 4.
The next item on, under CNI is the approval of our proficiency-based system. And just to kind of give you just a very quick overview, as you all know, we currently have, utilize A+, which is our software that we use for credit recovery and for initial credit. And this is a part of our proficiency-based system that we have to submit to the State Department for approval. And all of the information related to our program in relationship to which students qualify for credit recovery, and also they have to earn at least 80% mastery on this proficiency-based, under our proficiency-based system in order for them to earn the credit or to recover the credit. And the application itself is outlined here for you in item number 4.
Superintendent's recommendation is that the board approve the proficiency-based system for 2014, 2015.
Chair, so move we accept recommendation of the proficiency-based system.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Frick. Any discussion or questions?
Let me make sure I understand this. So this is replacing A+, or this is, what is this again?
Yeah, see what it is, Ms. McDaniel, the state requires that the board approve whatever proficiency-based courses that we have, that we offer in the district on an annual basis. So really it's doing nothing differently than what we did last year, other than the fact that we were supposed to come back and prove that the board is aware that we are offering proficiency-based courses on an annual basis.
So all these numbers in here, are these real numbers?
Yes,
These are real students?
yes,
All these students taking A+ classes?
yes. But understand now, students who are going to the alternative schools, students who are part of adult education, I mean, these aren't just students that are attending our traditional high school. So for example, if a student is a part of the alternative school or adult ed, they take proficiency-based courses.
All the adult ed courses are proficiency-based?
Yes,
So we'll have teachers face-to-face with students sitting in front of a teacher?
yes, yes, yes.
We do both?
We do both. So even though you may be taking a proficiency-based course, doesn't mean that you don't benefit from instruction. So you can receive instruction and receive instruction on A+ software.
This just seemed like a lot of students. And if they couldn't get it in the classroom, and they going on a computer, punching and ticking and typing, and they passing and graduating, I'm afraid.
Well, what I would say, Ms. McDaniel, is I mean, there are multitude of reasons why someone elects to go an alternative route. And it's not necessarily because they couldn't get it in a traditional route. I mean, there are many family circumstances and work circumstances and a whole lot of circumstances that may lead someone to choose an alternative route. So I don't want us to automatically assume that because someone decides to go to GOA that they're academically deficient, because there may be other issues other than the academic program.
We have students deciding to go to GOA?
Most definitely.
Okay, I thought all the students with the GOA had come before the board.
So in other words, Mr. McDaniel, let's say I'm a young lady who had a child.
No, I don't
in
need
high
an example,
school.
Mr.
Yeah,
I need the policy for how the students get to GOA is what I need.
Okay, well, we don't have a policy that says the board has sent students to GOA.
What's the policy period that determines when a student goes to GOA?
There is no policy. If a student wants to go to GOA, the student can go to GOA. So, I mean, are you suggesting that if a kid at the high school says that I would work better in an alternative setting, that it should come to the board for the board to say whether he can go to an alternative setting?
How many teachers we have at GOA?
I couldn't answer that, Mr. McDaniel.
So you send us some information on this. I mean, more information.
Ms. Reed, when we had the discipline area committee, me and Ms. Harris, one of the things that we did deal with, a couple of young ladies, she just couldn't deal with that. She asked to go. She asked us to go to, she didn't want to go to back to the high school. She did better. And she was smart. She was sharp.
Is there smaller classes there?
Yes.
The bigger question is, are all the classes they need to graduate? And that might be one of the reasons we have students, even one who applied for HSAP, who didn't pass the test, and called me and told me that when she filled out her application, she was told, well, you graduated with not enough electives. So one of the backlashes of going over there is whether or not the students are getting all the courses when they go over there, and all the classes.
Mr. Daniel, we offer any course a student needs to earn the 24 credits to graduate.
At both GOA and at the high school?
Yeah. I've not had one example of anyone saying that courses were not available for me to earn my high school diploma.
Yeah, but Mr. Green, they may not know to tell you that. It's your responsibility to make sure that is in place.
What I'm telling you is in place. That's what I'm saying.
All right, we got a motion and a second. We're gonna limit some discussion, okay? We got another question, then we're gonna go ahead. I think we've exhausted this one as well.
But just a quick comment that in regards to what Mr. Miller was saying, it is a good alternative, Ms. McDaniel, for students who the larger setting sometime at the high school is overwhelming. I just want us to be sure that there are mechanisms in place, because I've also seen students who, just kind of walk the halls, fall behind, and then that's their alternative. I just want to make sure that we have mechanisms in place to ensure, if that is an alternative for a student, that personnel have thoroughly looked at the situation of that student and why they're choosing to go to school.
Madam Chair, can Mr. Green bring us a report on the students specifically at GOA?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think FERPA will allow that, so.
I don't mean students by name. I mean the number of students over there, the number of classes they're taking, the subjects that they're taking. Is there a problem? You want that information?
Do I have that information?
No. Do GOA have it so that you can get it and pass it on to us?
I'll speak to Dr. Tim about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
All those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation to approve the proficiency-based system signify by the raising of the right hand. We've got 5, opposition, abstention. I've got 1, I'm sorry, I didn't see your vote. 6, okay, 601. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Policy revisions.
The last item under CNI are the policy revisions for policy JJE, student fundraising activities, and administrative rule JJE-R, student fundraising rules, fundraising activities. You have in board docs copies of both the original or current policy, the proposed policy with the revisions in red, and also the final proposed policy. Tonight, this is to you for first reading, approval of first reading. And for the sake of time, Madam Chair, would you like for me to go through the revisions of each of the policies?
Why don't we do that? Thank you.
Okay. Policy JJE is the first proposed policy. As indicated, the middle school will go from 2 school-wide fundraisers per year to 5. And some of the language in the policies has been cleared up to reflect current practices in our school district. So fund drives, so that we can be consistent, has been turned into fundraisers. Again, after approval by the principal, the building request will be sent to the superintendent or designee for approval. And then as we go over to administrative rule, JJE-R, student fundraiser, one of the changes, all schools and school-related organizations will submit their fundraisers to the district office annually. And we removed the statement or the clause that states in preparation for the first board meeting in October. So now it just reads second full week of school in September of each school year. The other additional change is that instead the Board of Trustees, it now reads, or the recommended change is the superintendent or designee has the discretion to accept and approve any anticipated fundraising activities annually through March the 31st. Deletions to reflect current practices, we remove the line that states a report of the total amount raised by each fundraiser will be submitted to the district office within 10 working days after each fundraiser to now reflect any money collected from fundraisers in excess of $50 is to be given to the school bookkeeper the same day that it is collected. As I stated earlier, that is to reflect current practices. Deletions, any direct solicitation of businesses such as ads, etc., will come through the district office. Also, notification must be given at least 2 weeks prior to the activity. And lastly, the last statement, a financial report is due the last day of school for teachers, has also been deleted from this administrative rule.
All right, this is the first reading, the revisions to board policy administrative rule JJE-R, student fundraising activities.
Madam Chair, I have a request. Can we do those separately? Can we do them separately?
How are they separate?
They're 2 different policies. Are they 2 different?
Combined.
Are they 2 different policies or?
One is the policy and one is the administrative rule.
So I think they go hand in hand.
Okay. No problem.
It'd be hard to separate them out.
Madam Chair.
Is that a motion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let's get a motion in a second, then we'll discuss.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve policy JJE and ARJJE-R, student fundraising activity.
I second that, Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. Frick. Thank you, Mr. Miller. And we will open for discussion and questions. Ms. McDaniel?
Yeah, Dr. Edwards, can you tell me what we have in place to ensure that our boosters, band, football, whomever, the funds that they have from 1 year is transferred to the school for the following year?
Ms. McDaniel, I would prefer to defer that to either Mr. Robinson or Dr. Green.
So in terms of booster clubs, Ms. McDaniel, very often they are separate entities. So in terms of transferring that to the general fund, that doesn't happen year to year. So in other words, if the booster club has a, say Band Booster Club, for example, has a balance of $10,000 at the end of this year, it's not as if we transfer that $10,000 to the general fund. They have $10,000 as they start the next year. So when you say transfer to the general fund, that doesn't happen.
I didn't say transfer to the general fund.
Same club.
Okay, well, maybe I kind of, maybe I was.
If the football booster club had $5,000 left at the end of the season,
Okay.
then that $5,000 should
be there for the opening of the next school year unless they use it for some purchases. So my question is, what do we have in place to ensure that the monies at the end of one activity, event, sport, whatever, is there for the next year?
I mean, you said, what do we have to prevent, I mean, so what would happen to it, I mean, as opposed to being there? I mean, what, I guess I don't understand.
Okay, well, let's back up. Are the Booster Club funds on deposit with the district?
On deposit with the district,
Uh-huh.
I don't understand what that question is.
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I guess I'm just wondering why we're addressing booster clubs in the policy if we don't have anything in place to, and even though they're using the school's name when they sell their items and stuff. I mean, do we know what happened to the money at the end of one season?
Why wouldn't they be with the school?
It's a separate organization.
Okay, so the response is we have no involvement, no control, no nothing. It's just
Not to my knowledge, we don't.
okay. And then my other question is, at the end, we have board can regulate any activity that would disturb school. What does that mean?
That's the section of the South Carolina Code that allows that to be policy for this district.
Okay, but what does it mean?
That the board can regulate activity, any activity that would disturb school. So the board can say, we're not having any fundraisers, it disturbs school. Or we can have fundraisers because it won't disturb school.
I'm just wondering if we enforcing this all school related organizations piece in the policy. If we changing the policy and we're not enforcing that or quote regulating it, then do we really want to keep it in here? Just food for thought.
Okay, any other discussion or question?
I'm assuming, I guess in the same line as you were saying, the clubs that are in the schools go from one year to the other if there's anything left over, right?
Yes. In other words, if your question is, the
One
interact
club goes to a new club.
Yeah, the same one.
But then those monies are on deposit with the district.
Yes.
So there's a mechanism to have control.
All right. Hearing no further
One more
discussion.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we do many fundraisers that are like candy and things like that? As far as something that is.
Let's
in
stay
line
with the policy. We've approved fundraisers, one Chick-fil-A biscuits and that sort of thing. So could be candy, I mean, that's,
Well, the reason I'm asking that is because I went to the thing in Columbia on history, where they're trying to take a lot of history out of history. And another thing that they were talking about as far as fundraisers in the schools, to back up, obesity, to try to keep that down. So anyway, that's a lot.
So let me speak to that in something. I think that's something that's been kind of controversial as of late. With the new healthy standards that are handed down by the federal government, is the number of fundraisers that we do that involve unhealthy snacks, if you will.
Right.
And so initially, when the year started, then most schools were under the impression that we weren't allowed to do fundraisers that involve unhealthy snacks. So the State Board of Education has reviewed that and has given districts, it's kind of complicated, but it amounts to, I think, around 30 exceptions that you can remember, right?
yeah,
I think they give you 30 3-day fundraisers, is how they say it. So you could do 30 3-day fundraisers that may involve unhealthy snacks. Well, and so, and that's something that people can debate. I guess what I would say is it's very hard to regulate someone's eating habits in the school setting. And I understand federal government's perspective in terms of we don't want to encourage people in schools to eat potato chips or chocolate or whatever the case may be, that may contribute to them eating healthier at home. But I'm a little skeptical of that, you see. You know what I mean? I'm not
It's over management, over government.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how impactful that actually should be. If that actually occurred. So you are correct that there is some conversation around rather we should have fundraisers that involve unhealthy snacks, let me say that. And the amount of fundraisers that we should have involved unhealthy snacks. But the state did agree to give us some exceptions for that.
Yeah, I knew they had some, I didn't think it was 30-something. Go ahead.
They just made a statement.
Okay, well, that was apparently part of what I went through that day in Columbia a week or two ago.
Madam Chair, can I ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Green, we have 12 fundraisers for the high school and only 5 for the career center. And so is the district paying for the competitions? Because they normally go on a lot of competitions, or are they not going on as many competitions as in the past?
So you're saying the career center is only doing 5 fundraisers for the year?
I think
That's what this says?
Yeah.
Okay.
The board restricts student solicitation and community to the following high school. The high school will have no more than 12 fundraisers in the career center. We'll have no more than 5. Well, apparently there must be what we share all the time.
Yeah.
So do you want to keep that, or?
Present practice.
And Ms. McDaniel, I see that's kind of a guide there. And so I'm probably sure that Dr. Evans worked on it. You want to speak to that, Dr. Evans?
In my conversation with the director, actually they don't even do any fundraisers at all. So many of the trips or the field trips and the competitions are paid through Perkins funds. So at this point, it really isn't a need to actually host or have the five fundraisers.
So we get enough Perkins money to pay for all of the competitions? Because the career center used to go on a lot of competitions.
And they still compete.
And Perkins paying for all of them?
I think, Mr. McDaniel, there may have been one fundraiser where the district contributed some funding that they were in on last year.
There were none, and he didn't submit any for this year.
All right, we have a motion, a second, we've discussed. All those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the first reading revisions to the policy and administrative rule JJE-R, student fundraising activities, please signify by raising of the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposition? 2.
Madam Chair, I want my statement for the record that I think this district have enough money that our children do not need to be out fundraising. Yes.
Operations and finance.
Madam Chair, before now, I want this for the record, 2 feet now. I respectfully ask to be excused. I have another commitment.
All right.
But it's your last board meeting.
It is.
So you need to stay a little while longer. But good working with you.
Thank everybody for the time and patience with me. It's an enjoyable trip.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so
Madam Chair, this, can I, before Mr. Cunningham go?
Sure.
This is his last meeting, and I think, we need to give him an applause. Appreciate it.
Good evening. In the board package, you have the September finance report and schedules for your review.
Were there any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ross, the report, and I just noticed it, that you have this by object
Yes, ma'am.
is actually by function, is it not? What am I looking at wrong?
Well, it's not the objects itself, it's the the reports by the object group. So all of the salaries, which contains more than one object, are grouped together, and all of the benefits, which contains more than one object, are grouped together.
Well, there's no way you can run it where if it's gonna be by object, it groups all of the objects together?
Yes.
If you can do that for the next one. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
The second item in your board packet this evening is the superintendent is requesting, recommending that the board approve transfer of $1 million from the general fund to the capital projects fund for the 13-14 fiscal year. And currently, we're projecting that we're going to have a surplus in the general fund of approximately $1.5 million that would go to the general fund balance for the fiscal year 13-14. And as a result, the superintendent's recommending that $1 million of that surplus be transferred to the capital projects fund. As a result, the purpose is to pay for, as he mentioned earlier, the one-to-one technology initiative in the middle and high schools, and also for other facility needs in the district. And after that transfer, if approved, that would leave a fund balance of approximately $6.5 million for the end of the 13-14 fiscal year.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation contingent on the fact that we get an updated listing of all of the computers in the district.
A second.
Provided I get a second, Mr. Miller.
A second.
So you want a list of all of the computers in the district?
Updated. We have to do it for inventory anyway, and if you look at the request, there's money in there to pay for tagging.
There is. I saw that. Why don't we separate that out and to keep it clean and have it without a contingent and then make that request afterwards?
Now, shall I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation regarding the transfer of the $1 million, noting that he will provide us a listing of all the computers in the district at a later date.
A second. With that request. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion.
Say no.
No discussion. All those in favor signify by raising of the right hand. 6-0.
Okay, now I have another question, Madam Chair. The money from the bonds, what are we doing with that this year? If we can transfer the money for the computers, do we have a?
You said the money from the bonds, I mean, that's still being used for the construction of the career center.
Okay, so we didn't do it, okay, no problem, thank you.
Madam Chair, so do we have a short list of what capital improvements that you're talking about?
And I'll tell you, Mr. Regan, of course, there are, we have kind of general upkeep. Probably the major renovation is going to be the current career center. As we discussed, we want that to house going out as academy and adult ed program, in addition to transportation and maintenance, to kind of consolidate some of those functions. So, but in addition to that, we gotta, need an air conditioner, need some, refrigerator, so there's some other things we need to do throughout the district. But that's probably the biggest investment that we have.
Does that include the parking lot where we're parking the buses over there? That thing looks pretty rough.
Did you say go pretty rough?
Looks pretty rough, did you think?
Yeah, I saw it, it was pretty
Pretty
rough.
rough.
All right, Human Resources.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This evening for your approval, you have 2 items under Human Resources section. Item 1 being certified resignations, and that would be Exhibit 1A.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Miller?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation with the resignation
Thank you.
of certified employee.
All right.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. All those in favor of the board accepting or approving the superintendent's recommendation signify by raising of the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, I believe.
Replacement on that,
Right now, we have
we have some certified positions.
6-0, Ms. Brown.
Next item for your approval is item 2, certified recommendation.
Madam Chair, we did vote for the transfer, right?
Yes, we did.
The Sprint voted for it, right?
Yep.
It's my fault, I'm sorry.
So we're sitting back.
Drifting, yeah, that's drifting out.
Madam Chair,
Is there deja vu or something? There's a time warp in here.
I didn't want to go home and feel bad.
The superintendent recommends that the board approve the certified
certified
recommendation.
employee.
Make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Those in favor signify by raising his right hand. We got 6, Ms. Brown.
Madam Chair, will you please indulge me and tell me what's going on at the resignation? I think Ms. Hoffman asked the question. I
No,
didn't hear.
ma'am, we're not going to discuss that in public session.
No, I mean as far as whether or not there is someone in the classroom.
There is, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is.
Yes. All right, and then to the board chair report, we've got the training calendar and then the registration form for the 2015 National School Board Association Conference. Mr. Miller, I believe that's in Nashville, the country music capital that it's going to be. And that's will be the 75th anniversary, I believe, too. That's going to be a big one. Those 2 things are there for your information, and the other thing that I'd like to add is to remind folks that the next meeting is at Kelly Miller, so we don't have folks go to the Career Center. It's at Kelly Miller, 6 o'clock, November 18th.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Thank you, Ms. Harrison. All those in favor, signify by aye. Thank you.
The screen, don't be trying to run.